while navigating the excitement, stickiness, and resistance in their relationships. In my 40 years of working as a psychotherapist and consultant, I've been continually amazed at the ways in which people overcome challenges. I hope to share my experience and insights so you can find the magic in your relationships. My hope in this show is to answer or address questions and challenges you're facing in your relationships. There are several ways you can ask me a question. You can send me a question by email at mercy@leadershipwithmercy.com. You also can access transcripts of the shows on this website, leadershipwithmercy.com. If you ask me a question, I'll be happy to answer it on the show. It'll be certainly would guard your anonymity. I would answer it on the live show, so it will be on the KKNW podcasts, as well as the KKNW YouTube channel video of this show. So today, my guest is Dr. Daryl Green, who has returned, so that we can sort of dive into the topic that we raised at the end of the last show. And this is about a controversy. I'm going to have Dr. Green sort of give us the details of it, but we introduced it last time, of a former NFL football, star.
Great
with a cap. All right, in all caps. I'm not a football fan, so it's new to me. But the dynamic, I think, is very interesting in terms of issues that are faced, and particularly leadership is what I wanted to talk about. So we have a cultural leader, Ed Reed, and then we have the university that he is in conflict with. We'll just put it that way. So I just think this is a really interesting story, and Dr. Green will have some great insights. Dr. Green, just to remind my listeners, is the Dickinson Chair of Business professor at Oklahoma Baptist Christian University. He had a 27-year career as a mechanical engineer at the Department of Energy, but he pivoted to a leadership role in higher education and business management. The controversial decision that was made about Ed Reed's role as a head coach at Bethune-Cookman is just a great example of just the complications of leadership. Now, as a professor of leadership, Dr. Green is in a Christian college, which also Bethune-Cookman is a Christian college. Dr. Green brings a unique perspective to the challenges faced by both the institutional leaders and the informal role of leadership of a celebrity athlete with students and fans, parents, alumni. So I expect a lively discussion with Dr. Green. Let's go. Hi, Daryl.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Dr. Russell? Mercy. Lord mercy.
Right. We throw those doctors around, but really, come on. So, hi. How's the weather in Oklahoma today?
The weather looks beautiful. No, yeah. It's we got snow. It's like 19 degrees. It's cold. So it's climate change is for real.
Okay, change is everywhere. I'm in Arizona. It was supposed to snow today, but we got sunny skies. So we'll just sort of hold. We're holding to tradition here. So Daryl, could you just review for our audience again the incident that we're talking about? Sort of give some background about Ed Reed. For those who are like me, maybe not so in on the NFL scene.
So I just want to say, sit back, put on your seatbelts, have some popcorn. If you ever see Dallas, if you see as the life turned, the world turned, the Ed Reed Bethune situation you're going to be amazed. So first of all, let's it's kind of like a bad breakup I don't know, relationship. I don't know if you've ever dated somebody you just incompatible, and it's this is it. So let's talk about Ed Reed. So to set this up, you have to know about where we live, where we're at right now. About 3 years ago, Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, they call him prime time, charismatic, dynamic individual, was looking to make his way into college football. The problem is he did not have any head coaching experience, and he could not go. No one would take him. Yes.
Deion Sanders is also another.
He's
NFL
another Hall of Famer. It's a football. Yeah. He's a great icon. Everyone knows him. Very charismatic. So he got opportunity at Jackson State. It was a historical Black college, and they were struggling. They had a rich history, good academics. He came there and he rebuilt their school. Now he understood most of the historical Black schools, and I would say a lot of underserved rural schools. They all had the same kind of problems. So we just talk about Black colleges, but all the schools have some kind of problems. So they took him under his umbrella. He was highly successful. He brought resources to the university. He built the university up. Historical Black colleges had flourished under Deion because he had brought attention. This guy, charismatic, he has a camera on him 24/7. So everyone looked at this, and you had other celebrity football players like George that is at Tennessee State and other places, but they were not charismatic as Deion.
When you say he had a camera on him, was that his doing or just
it's his doing. He's leveraging social media platforms. He has a younger son, his older son, Deion Sanders Jr. He's called Well Off Media. He was putting on videos, YouTube clicks, and he was getting massive. Because you think about this, most coaches, and one of the most celebrity coaches at Alabama coach, they're very private. They don't want people to know their business. They're not showcasing. But Deion Sanders is he's in meetings, team meetings. He has a camera on. No one does that. And so he's created a lane. He's created a unique position for himself. He's getting his name out. And one thing about Deion, he got the #1 recruit last year. Travis Hunter came. He was supposed to be going to Florida State, and he opted to go to Jackson State, which has never happened before for a Black college. A 5-star is like the ultimate, and so everyone's looking at that. That is a good recipe. You get a celebrity football player to come to your school and give you all these resources. So I just want to tell you, maybe Bethune-Cookman was looking at this situation. They were struggling in football. They've had a rich tradition. Bethune-Cookman, another historical Black college, Daytona Beach, resource challenge, but a good institution. Football program not going good, so somebody decided, you know what? We can reach out to Ed Reed. Okay, now as I mentioned, Deion did not have the pedigree. He did not have the coaching experience. Jackson State gave him an opportunity, and he was able to use that opportunity to leave and go to University of Colorado, and that's where he's at right now. Some people hated it, but I'm just gonna be honest with you. Most football fans, you leave a school, they hate you anyway. So it's Black colleges, white colleges, we don't matter. But that has just happened. So he didn't have any experience. He was able to bypass the system by working at Jackson State.
So in other words, he went and right in his head coach at the University of Colorado. Right.
Because of
his experience.
Because he was a head coach and he was a successful head coach. They're taking a test. Say, look what Deion Sanders did at Jackson State that didn't have resources. We have tons of resources. Right. We're gonna use his platform. So questions out, how successful he's gonna be. Let's get back together later to see what happened. But going back to Ed Reed's case, Ed Reed, Hall of Famer, went to the University of Miami, good pedigree, was I think in the NFL for over 10 years plus. He's a Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer. He is everything. He's not as charismatic as Deion, but certainly he won a Super Bowl, so he has that kind of recognition. Everyone likes him. Okay,
Right.
Go
So
ahead.
what we're talking about here is that Deion, and this is just me, I'm sort of like, catching up here, that Deion sort of set the template, right?
Yes.
For being coming in as a celebrity athlete
Yes.
into an academic institution and really working it to give himself experience,
Yes.
and then to elevate the school
Yes.
for their resources,
Yes.
as well as himself, which of course paid off with him
Yes.
getting an
Yes.
offer at a different school.
Yes.
So this is a form of leadership, and I
Yes.
would call it kind of informal leadership, because it's not only that he's the leader as the head coach, but he's taking a whole bigger agenda than really what he was hired for,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is to bring this attention. So that's
Yes.
the template. And
That's
so
true.
when we talk about Ed Reed, we're talking about him looking at Deion and going, and Bethune-Cookman thinking,
Yes.
okay, we're going to follow that playbook.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. That's the
Yes.
point of really
Yes.
knowing about Deion,
Yes.
because
Yes.
that's the
That-
playbook we're looking at.
Yeah, but there's also, so we talk about leadership. There's some contrast. Deion is a charismatic leader. Now, one of the things he did do, so I think he.
Can you just
Oh.
explain a charismatic leader a little
Yes,
bit more? We think
so
we know
we-
what it means, but I
Yes,
just want to be clear.
so all kind of leaderships. There will be called authoritarian. I got to be the boss. You're gonna listen when I say. Leadership because of title. Then you go into laissez-faire leader, kind of laid back. Then you go into a leader that you see his passion. And you just say, you know what, I'm gonna follow that guy anywhere he goes. You think about Martin Luther King. You think of John F. Kennedy. Those Barack Obama. Those kind of individuals. Just by the nature of their personalities, it drives them to be in a leadership position. And Deion Sanders is one of those. And now here's the other contrast. Deion also had Jackson State. Also, all schools have issues, but Deion was able to be very diplomatic about it, about getting things changed and not cussing people out. So contrast to Ed Reed, again, Hall of Famer, but he is very passionate. He was passionate on the football field. I didn't really not pay too much attention to him then, but he was very passionate. That's how he was as a football player. He's very passionate. I'm just gonna let you know what you have in one industry or one area does not necessarily translate well
to the other.
To be a football coach. And so to go into that, so in proof of principle, I would say Bethune-Cookman got into a informal relationship with Ed Reed to him to be the head coach, okay? For him to accept that mantle, okay? Press release came out that he would be the next coach, okay? That he would be there, okay? So now Ed Reed, so I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think Ed Reed is originally from Louisiana, so I want to bring that out. But he lived in Miami. He actually worked for the Dolphins for a bit. He had that experience, but I don't think Ed Reed ever been on campus. So I'm going to say you got the University of Miami. It's a rich, big institution. A lot of updates. You got a small Christian school that's gone through 2 hurricanes. He got on campus, and he just, what we say in the trade, he just lit up social media, throwing F-bombs, saying how the school was not, the school was run down and the stuff was dirty. His office was dirty. He said he did more work. Than many of the people that's there. So that's taking a big swipe at everybody. So he did that very lit. It was not professional. Okay. So
right. So the other thing is, number one, his contract hasn't started.
Yes.
Right. And he hadn't been assigned an office yet.
Well, I think it's even worse than that. His contract has not even been signed.
hadn't even been signed.
Yeah, he goes on campus. So I don't know. So let's talk about the hierarchy. Let's talk about the university. So you have the president. At the time, Bethune-Cookman has an interim president. So think about how much power that person has. But then above him, you have a board of directors, and I can't speak to it, but people saying the board, the
Board
trustees,
of trustees, yeah,
has a lot of issues going on, and most boards have some kind of
they sure do.
dysfunctionness. But they're saying that you got an interim president, so the president is not full time. Okay, he's there for a minute, and then you have the athletic. So here's another trick: the athletic director. That's the guy who runs the sports and everything. His name is he is another Hall of Famer. I just kind of got his name, but he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's a famous basketball player. So he's famous. And so he decides Ed Reed. And so Ed Reed comes on campus. I don't know how he comes on campus. He blasts the university, talking about how bad it is. And as the proverbial word is, all hell breaks loose across social media platforms, because people start making their alliances. They say there are people that don't like HBCUs. But
so
like,
what he did is he took little videos and he posted them on Facebook, Instagram, saying all these negative things about the university, in focusing also on the physical condition of the university. Right. Yes,
he did. He did. And like I said, that was, so you got, like I said, you got people on each side. Reggie Theus. I was looking at Reggie Theus. Reggie Theus he's famous. He's a famous guy too.
The athletic director.
Yeah, he's famous. So he's there with them, and he kind of understands. And so now he's just called out the university. So you got people on every side saying, well, he should have done that. I know everybody acknowledges he was not professional, but they say it's the truth out. And so you got people that don't like the university that supports that. And some people that like celebrities, they believe everything celebrities say. They're on TV, they believe them. So then you got the institution. Hey, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Who you think you are? Blasting the institution. I mean, the administration. So that is the tensions going on. So what happened? I think so. Ed Reed is a father. I mean, he has parents. He has relatives. They probably talked to him, and he sent out a notice. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for.
On the 16th, right afterwards, the next day.
He apologized.
He apologized,
which is okay. But then, so when you this is what the other thing. I do not look at comments. I do not track all that stuff, because if you're a celebrity, you're gonna have people that gonna get on your skin. And so some people that were following him saying, I can't believe, they just started talking bad about him. He got back on social media, driving through now he doesn't have a contract, signed contract, driving through the campus, showing how all these things are messed up. They got trash everywhere. So he's threw out another video
after the apology.
Right. So, so now so now he's calling out the institution. And so the institution decides we're gonna go a different way. I guess the athletic director, Reggie Theus, talked to him and said, okay, let's save face. I want you to talking to Ed Reed, I want you to step down. Gracefully. We're gonna just say it was not compatible. And Ed Reed must have said, heck no, because the next day he met with the parents. He had student athletes coming on campus to recruit. He was recruiting again. He doesn't have a contract. He's recruiting students, bringing their parents, and then he does another video saying, I didn't quit. I didn't quit. We got devils at our school. These people are devils. So he's called out the university. And so they did. I don't understand this because he doesn't have a contract. So they said he's not. So some people say he was fired, but he never had a contract. And so now you have this damage control. So you mentioned Roland Martin. Uncle Row, they call him.
Who's
He's a very,
he has
another,
he has a social, he has a talk show.
yeah, he has a talk show.
Right.
Very
Interviewed a lot of these people. Right.
He's an influencer, and he goes down there, and he's trying to get he got the president, the interim president on. Interim president saying, he's making a statement. He's coming out saying, I told him 3 things he got to do. This is a Christian institution. And he gave 2 other things that he need to follow. He said he broke them. He said it's just not compatible. Okay. So now you got, so he's saying, so Ed Reed comes on. He comes on and interviews, and he's passionate about it, and he can't control it. He said I didn't quit, and so he had a handler trying to talk to him, but he's just out of control. I mean, he's passionate. I think he does have the best interest for the kids, but he doesn't have the temperament of the coach. You can't say everything you're thinking, and so now it gets murky. So now you got students, because the school has some problems. Again, you have molds because of the hurricane. You got some, you got some conditions that are not great. That's being the spotlight's been. Anytime you got a celebrity, you got a spotlight on the situation. Right. So the institution has no other choice but to fix it. But they said they're going a different direction. So
wait, let me just, okay. So what you've described in this scenario is that you have Ed Reed, who is a type of leader, right? Now we use the word influencer now too, but he was, not in a bona fide position of leadership at the university yet, but he took a role. And if you talk about a leader as somebody who, is at the front of the pack with people following behind him, that's the scenario you have with Ed Reed.
Yes.
But how would you describe that as leadership? Now he's going up against other leaders in the organization, and we're going to get to that. But just for this type of leader, this is real. I mean, we have this in our society now everywhere, right?
So I think I would have to call him a autocratic leader. I think he has to be in control, and he's not. I mean, he's in the. I heard he's a neat freak too. And if the office is not clean, what is the degree of cleanness? Again, the other point I want to mention, Reggie Theus, who is, like I say, he's famous. He got interviewed not by Roland Moore, but somebody else, and he's saying that he didn't have that he did not know that he said Ed Reed is a different person off the camera than he is in the camera, which is interesting. So he's saying he didn't have the temperament to be a coach. So let's go back to Ed Reed. I think he leads by example. I think he likes to make decisions, and now he has to listen to them. So the question that I guess his supporters would say, Ed Reed has never acted like that at the University of Florida, and is pro-life, but it's a different dynamics. Now he has a smaller school, so we could say a big fish in a small pond. That is very different. And so, but that's what he has to be the boss. And I just think I think right now what you have is an incompatibility. And so I want to mention also, so as a result of this, students were protesting, we're not going to school. You got the football players are saying some things. I think things are going to get fixed, because what has happened, the school, we talk about leadership, the interim coach, the interim president and the athletic director, what they decided to do, because it's like having a family feud, and you got it on CNN and Fox News. It's not good. And so what they decided to do, they decided to get those alumni who went to the NFL. They brought them back and let them
went
talk.
To the NFL.
Yeah.
From Bethune-Cookman.
The former Bethune-Cookman students
who ended up at the NFL. Okay.
They brought a lot of those guys back to talk to the current players and the recruiters, to let them know that the institution is more important than one person. So they're trying to use their star power to straighten this out, and their cameras are going. So they get to see the students that they're still saying. So you got a lot of things going on, and how it ends, it's a soap opera. But it's gonna end, because at the end of the day, the institution is gonna still be there.
So can we segue or just move over to let's just talk about the interim president.
Yes.
So the interim, I just want to mention, how old is the school? It's over 100 years old.
Yeah, it's over 100 years old, yes.
Yeah, it's 100 plus years old. I mean, like 130 years old, let's say something like that. And that they have only had 8 presidents.
Yes.
And in this context, because there's some talk about this, it's interim presidents there for 2 years. It's a common thing that they do in leadership, executive leadership of higher ed, is they put someone interim while they're doing their search. And 8 presidents in that many years, the last person retired after 42, is really unusual. I want to say this is, in my experience in higher ed, college presidents, they roll over every 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I saw at the University of Vermont. I mean, people, it's just, it's sort of a fact of academic leadership. So they've had very stable leadership.
Yes.
Okay. Now you have this interim president, and I want you to talk about, his name is Dr. Lawrence Drake.
Yes.
And what's your view of how he responded, what he said, and what his role is, particularly in respect to the Board of Trustees, who are getting some flack, even though they're sitting in behind the curtain back there,
And we probably need to spend some time on that, because they're behind the scenes. They're not getting in the line for. So
and that's
first of all,
that's typical too of the higher ed. Let's just not say this isn't unusual.
No, I agree. No, I agree. I agree. It's
in public institutions, the Board of Trustees meeting have an open forum where everybody can go, but what really happens there is not, they have an actually limited role, but they're not public figures generally.
So what I've seen, my experience seeing even at the university I'm at, seeing the interim dean's role, the interim president's role is to stabilize. You're a stabilizer. You stabilize. You're not the guy, but your goal is to stabilize. And what I've observed, even trustees do, is that sometimes that interim person they're not going to be. They're not going to be the guy. But say, for instance, they're dealing with controversial issues, their layoffs, there are things that's happening. That interim president is really empowered to make some unpopular decisions, and the guy that coming after him say, "Well, I'm not that guy. I'm the savior." And so I think, in looking at the interview that I saw with Roland Martin, I thought he held himself very professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I think Roland was trying to pour it on and trying to put him in spots. And I think the reason why I think he was very deliberate. He was very wise, because he knows he's on the platform. And I do say, at the end of the day, an institution that's been there over 100 years has probably seen their share of drama. I'm from Louisiana, LSU, University of Tennessee. I've gone University of Oklahoma. They've all had their share of drama, but what has been different, social media has put it to the forefront, and that has been different. But I thought he handled himself very professionally. He didn't get himself caught up twisted. And at the end of the day, so
what I listened to his interview.
Yes.
And one thing he pointed out, I think, in response to a lot of the things that Martin was throwing at him, of course, was that of course the social media distorts things, takes a very narrow view of what are often kind of longer term problems, and it's what social media misses are the facts.
Yes.
And the context. Yes. And the context has a timeline, right? So we're talking about hurricanes, right?
Yes.
We're talking about the history of the school.
Yes.
I think he referred, now this was just in fly-by-night, but that the original that founder of the school was a woman,
Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune-Cookman.
Betty Bethune-Cookman.
She fired Zora Neale Hurston. Zora Neale Hurston had a role at the university, and something came up because she felt like Zora Neale Hurston was not reflecting the values of the institution. Now, anyone who knows anything about African American, anything knows Zora Neale Hurston is just this, kind of very revered writer and poet. And so to think that this, so all to say, the institution and the founder had certain principles, and they weren't going to be sidelined by celebrities, right?
Yes.
And I think I'm sure she took a lot of flack for that, and probably is still taking flack for it, without people knowing the details. So that's, I think, what really stood out to me about, the interim president's interview was his emphasis on that. You know what? We're going to take a little break right now, and we'll be right back.
That you are heard, and I don't mean in just a conversation. I mean really heard. Imagine hosting your very own radio program on Alternative Talk 1150. Talk about being heard. Call 425-653-1150 right now to learn how affordable it can be to host your own radio show. Time slots are going fast, so take hold of this chance by dialing 425-653-1150. Alternative Talk. We have an opportunity waiting just for you.
Make it a great day. Keep your dial on Alternative Talk 1150.
Hello, this is Mercy Russell with the Remarkable Relationship Show, back from a break. I'm here with Dr. Daryl Green, and we're talking about leadership in the context of the controversy at Bethune-Cookman with their celebrity, I don't want to say coach, because he was never really hired, but with Ed Reed. And it's, this is something that's taken the attention of the country, especially in the sports world. And it's, I think, a great example for us to talk about leadership. So we were just talking, we've, kind of reviewed the background of the controversy of Ed Reed, his personality, his charismatic leadership, kind of an autocratic style. Mm-hmm. And now we're talking about the leadership from the institution, really centered in the interim president, Dr. Lawrence Drake, who we just mentioned. And we're talking a little bit about, but I want to pass this back to you, Daryl, to just talk a little bit more about who Dr. Drake is and how you would view his leadership role, his job at this point, and how he's been doing with it.
So Mercy, I just want to be honest with you. I didn't know anything about this guy.
Uh-huh.
He was thrusted in the limelight because of this Ed Reed situation. So let's just talk about who this guy is. So he is Lawrence M. Drake the third. He's an alumni. He's an alumni from Bethune-Cookman. So he has something about him. They just promoted him. They just promoted him last year. He was the business dean, the College of Business and Entrepreneurship. Think about this. He has worked 42 years in the professional world. And check this out. I just want to let you know about this. I thought this was amazing. He served 21 years with Coca-Cola company, including a stint as a division president, CEO of Nigeria, an African division. So the guy is polished. So he he done seen a couple of controversies in his lifetime. He has, what I like about it, he's an alumni. He has a so now, if you are a social media follower, you're following the social media, like you said, there's no depth on social media. then you would say this guy's ignorant. You look at him, he don't know what he's talking about. He's lying. I hear people saying he's lying. He's not telling the truth. But the guy is invested in the institution. And so I think that's, and I would say I think he's a common voice, not knowing much about his style, but I would say he's certainly I would say that he has diplomacy characteristics. He has that, and I think he was just calm, and because they were throwing bombs at him, and he's probably getting. So here's what happens in the social media world: they're probably getting death threats. If you don't agree with people, they give you death threats, and this is the world we live in because of social media. It has goods and bads, but I mean, as a president, I mean, he's demonstrated on a very high level that he knows how to manage very complicated things. If you're dealing with Coca-Cola and certain things, he was actually, believe it or not, his coming back party was to be becoming the dean of the business school. So I think he knows a few things. So my thing was, before we talked, my thinking was he's interim. Sometimes they bring interim, a peacekeeper that's retired. They bring him in. They sit a minute, stabilize the organization, and leave. This guy is the dean. So he's not. He may become the president. I don't know. After this, stars are made out of a lot of storms and drama and tribulations. He might become the permanent president, depending on how he handles the situation.
Right. So his leadership, what's his job as a leader right now in this? So as an alumni, part of even the things that were thrown at him was the reorganization of the alumni association and how much giving the alumni are doing. And I mean, they threw everything that is going on with the university right out on social media. I mean, if it wasn't Ed Reed, because Ed Reed wouldn't really see all of this, but now anything about the university is fair game. And what's his role as a leader? And he's very polished. I liked listening to him because he has gives a big picture view of the university.
So I think he has a lot of, in Louisiana, he has a lot of alligators. And he's in a boat, got a lot of alligators around him. He has to prioritize what he to tackle first. So let's look at some of the things. So he always deal the students. They're taking screenshots on YouTube of the rooms conditions. They got mold and things. Yes, they got mold, but most of the schools have mold, but they're putting a light on that. So he has that confronting him. Enrollment, I'm not sure about enrollment. I think enrollment probably static or even growing. I think they're at 3,000 students, which is I think is good for. But he's dealing with that. Then he's dealing with the athletic side. They got to find a coach. So I think one of the things he used, we're going to find an athletic coach in the next couple of weeks. So that's what he promised. So people are going to be looking, did he keep his word? And he's going to find an athletic director. And
he's got an athletic director.
It's
finding the head coach.
He's going to find a head coach. That's right. He's going to find that coach. That's his commitment to try to neutralize some of the negative things going about, at least keep his student, because he's trying to build a football team, but he's also trying to keep a school. I mean,
football is, we have to emphasize, it's somewhat integral to a lot of schools. Ohio State University built a world-class library from the football team, gifted it to the university. So, and look, you've got Bethune-Cookman alumni who went to the NFL. I mean, let's not talk about the football college where your football team is my college, right? So all to say, this is not just a little athletic extracurricular thing on the side. This is integrated. Now, I'm going to just throw this all at you a little differently. They brought Daryl Green in because they've heard about him. And he's in there to kind of to advise the interim president the Board of Trustees, and Ed Reed. Okay,
Oh,
what would your, all three. Because you're neutral,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And they know how much you know about leadership management, that you can see it from all sides. So what, give us quick and
Okay.
dirty of what you.
Okay. Ed Reed's the easy one. Let's deal with him first. I think if I would tell him, and hopefully you don't cuss me out, but I would tell him that he needs to take a step back and look at himself on social media. That you're gonna be leading folks. I'm gonna care about passion. That at the end of the day, if you're at the NFL and you're doing that, would they hire you? And so in saying that, he's gonna need to reinform his image. Just like he used the social media, he's going to use it. So what does that mean? Sometimes, so he's a Hall of Famer, but sometimes that means, you know what, I'm going to take a job as an assistant coach. And he'll probably cuss me out as an assistant coach, even for Deion. So here's the thing about this. Deion did not get into that. He said, brother, I love you.
He has a relationship with Ed Reed.
He has a great.
He's been in contact with him during this. Yeah.
And actually, when Ed Reed was going off with the parents and the students, they had Deion showing, say, you know what, man, my brother, I'm with you. And all Deion is, when they talk to Deion, all Deion says, I hope that Bethune-Cookman, and I hope that Bethune-Cookman and Ed Reed can work it out. So why is that important? Because one of the things that Ed Reed said, Deion is right. So when on leaving, one of the things Deion said about the institution having some issues, he did it on the way out. Yeah, for Jackson State, he did that on the way out, and it was not taken. People got slighted, but Ed Reed was like, say, Deion is right, and everybody knew to talk about that, and so that threw, as we say in the trade, the streets, it threw shades on black colleges. All black colleges are bad. Anytime you say all, you in trouble. So that's why I would tell Ed Reed, but Deion, I would say work with Deion, but Deion has not offered him a position. And I think he wants to be the boss. And if you want to be the boss, then I just think it's very difficult. I'm just saying, just the practical side of that, if you cuss your boss out, you cuss your supervisor out, you cuss the president out, the odds of you getting a job anywhere is remote. And so unless you do that unless you get that stuff together, get some help, some anger. I like passion, but I don't like anger. I would. So like I say, he kicked me out of this room. He cussed me out, I think.
Well, I think what you bring up is really an important aspect of leadership, which is accountability.
Yes.
Because people love to talk about accountability for their direct reports, for the workers, for the faculty. But leaders have to hold themselves accountable too. Yeah. They aren't gods, right? Now he's got a board of trustees, so the structure puts a level of, but there's other accountability. Yeah. And that a leader, even a charismatic leader who's going to be successful, has to decide who he's going to hold himself accountable to. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's his mother, or his grandmother sitting back there, right? Who's saying, look, I don't want to hear this stuff from you. But you got to be accountable to somebody, and leaders don't get a pass on that.
So you open something up. You say something. So something I'm gonna go back to when I talked about Deion being charismatic. Ed Reed is very charismatic too, but he's charismatic in a different. I mean, we say passionate. They see the character of the person. Right. He has lots of character. It's just he is not polished. And if you're gonna be a head coach for a major program, I don't care if it's a small school, you gotta learn some other skills. He has the passion, but there's some other skills you gotta have.
And you think he could turn it around at this point?
Oh yeah, you can turn it around. I mean, I believe in second chances. I mean, he can turn it around. But since he was so open, that's what I'm saying. If you open with social media, you got to end with social media. You got to do it in a positive way. And I think even if you do reality shows or whatever, you got to come up. Deion has done it. Now Deion's taking chances too, because your life is 24/7, and we don't always shine, and maybe that's the authenticity of Deion. So the next group, I would say the athletic director. I thought he was calm and polished. I seen in his interview, he got to find a good coach, and they got to win. They got to deal with the issues the students, the football players, you're not supposed to share helmets. It's like sharing toothbrushes. You're not supposed to share that. And because they have a limited amount of funds, I guess they were sharing uniforms
And helmets.
Helmets and washing their own clothes. And there's some reasons behind some of that stuff. And it goes along with the president. They have to prioritize. So now, here's the problem that you deal with. If they were in a vacuum, they could prioritize what is the most risk, what is the risk, what is the best benefit. But because you're open, your life is open now, you got to do some things that are you got to do some of the things that are very visible that maybe not have the same amount of impact, and you got to mix them together. Because at the end of the day, you got, but what brings me hope, you got a institution that's been there 100 years. They've seen this. They've seen this before. So I just think between the president, I think you got to get the coach right. Yeah, so he has to have the character, but he also got to win. He got to win some games. He got to turn the thing around. I believe he has to talk. And so what I'm saying right now, to get out of the ditch that we live in the 21st century, they have to be more outgoing. They got to be more forward and transparent than ever before. And so, but I don't know what the interim. I like the interim president. I like his style. I like his mojo. But the narrative. He's saying he's walking to school. So some of the parents and some of the teachers, some of the students are saying we've never seen this guy, and some of the outsiders saying the guy's not telling the truth. Mm-hmm. So can two things both be true? Yes. Could the students know that the president's not walking to campus? Yes.
Absolutely. And let's just be clear, as I have I have a doctorate, you have a doctorate. I've been on campus. I've been in, I have a master's. How many students actually ever go to a meeting with the administration? I mean, it's nobody. I mean, students, they got their own things they're involved with, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, their sports, their studies, their mom and dad. And are they thinking about the president? Are they going to show up at the tea with the president? So let's just give the president a break on that one.
Yeah. I agree. So what we do, we don't trivialize the roles of students. Students certainly are involved. We want them to have a voice. But I'm just saying, it's like being a parent. There's some things I'm telling my kids that I'm dealing with. I'm not sharing that stuff with them. And so if they talk with less information, because you can't tell everybody what's going on in your institution. So I think prioritizing what's important, I think it's going to be very important. But I think I like the calmness in the institution. So one of the things that was through against the institution that folks are not given, that alumni are not given. And to be truth be shown, alumni across the country, unless you're a Harvard or some most students I've seen, I'm not giving them anything because they did something to me. And I think I
already paid my tuition.
Yes. Yeah, I paid too much money. I'm not giving it. So I don't I think they give, I think the institutions, the alumni need to rally around the school as much as possible and tell their own narrative. So I don't think the solution is getting another celebrity person. So I think that's the whole thing. It was incompatibility. I mean, but that tells you we need to do due diligence. We need to do unintended consequences. Did the trustees, they say we want to be like Jackson State? We want to bring in $100 million in, and we want to get a celebrity coach. We don't know that they did that.
Right.
But I'm just saying when you have somebody famous like Deion and Jackson State, it wasn't a perfect marriage, but it was a marriage that had mutual agreement and mutual respect. At the end of the day, Deion, despite Deion had some wonderful memories from Jackson State along with his kids. Jackson State had some memorable memories with Coach Prime. That's a wonderful relationship,
So okay. Speaking of students, you're a professor in that school of business, teaching what you teach now, and you got students coming in like hot about this issue. How would you use this as a teaching moment?
Oh, I'm using it right now. I do what we call wise notes every week, because I think we need to give students hope. So in that, it's like maybe 5 minutes. I talk about, I pick like a virtual value. So this week I'm talking about excellence. So I'm talking about excellence. And then I miss a description. It's a Christian school. I miss a description, and I talk about business. But my one thing that I'm talking about, I think the next couple of weeks, is authenticity. And I'm talking about Dion. And I'm talking about, why am I talking about Dion? Because he didn't do it like everybody else did it. And a lot of times people find fault because you're not following a blueprint. And that's what I'm taking into 2023, is that you got to be authentic. You got to be yourself. And a lot of times, like for students, they come in. I had a student last semester. She was taking a marketing class with me. In a big class, I had 29 students or so. And I started talking about being authentic to yourself and doing that. And the student was taking she was in finance. And she came into my office and say, I'm changing my major, Dr. Green, because that's not who I am. And I think if we do that. So in the old days, we say, you need to work on your weaknesses. But I heard Magic Johnson, something that really struck me. He said, you know what? I don't work on my weaknesses. I work on my strengths, and I surround myself with team members that have the strength that I don't have. And that's what I teach my students. We want to be true to ourselves, be the best version of ourselves, excellence, being in our lane, and we collaborate with those people that have skills that we don't have. That's what I teach.
So if you have students coming in who are really upset about this whole issue, and they're talking about all the social media stuff coming from Ed Reed, and everybody, and the protest, there was a protest on campus. What would you have them consider in terms of thinking about this in a broader context?
I mean, just like what we just said. First of all, my students are built different. They're not looking at that. Most of the students, they don't bring it. If you notice that, most students are not going to interact with the professor,
right?
Unless you bring stuff up. So I think it's a story. Understand, doing the homework, so that if you go into an organization that is compatible with your belief system. And I think that's really most important, that if I'm gonna deal with you, that we need to be compatible.
So you'd be highlighting the incompatibility here.
Yes,
right. And that that perhaps the school couldn't have seen it in advance, and even Ed Reed couldn't have seen it in advance. He was just being me, he was Ed Reed being Ed Reed. And then it wasn't until he actually got in there that he realized his style, that it's become clear his style wasn't a match.
Okay. So no point well taken. So that's the first point. The second point is, don't air your dirty laundry out to the world. Don't do that. Because you can't take it back. I mean, he apologized. Ed Reed apologized. Was it sincere? Only God knows. But I know people still showing him cussing folks out. They still running that one. Even when he's 100 years old, they gonna still be running that video.
Yeah.
It's on social media. So I just think we have to.
Right.
If I have issues with you, let us be adults. Sit in the room and say, you know what, my office is messed up. I don't appreciate that. We need to fix that right now, and go crazy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But it's just like my parents say, we have
So I've just watched this series. I like it, called Queen Sugar. I don't know if you've watched it at all. Oh, really? It's all in Louisiana. And there's a celebrity basketball player and his wife who end up having a big social media horror on the court when she finds out he's got another wife and a baby. And at any rate, that happens in season 1. Season 8, her son, who's a photographer and putting up NFTs. Now, I don't know if anyone, I hardly understand what they are, but it's like a piece of digital art that you can buy. So it's not something you hang on your wall. He posts an image of his parents' conflict just to try to get in on an organization while his mother's campaigning. In other words, he brings forward this
Mhm.
image of 10 years before, and it becomes a live issue for her. And that's just the example that you're talking about those images that Ed Reed has now, that they're in the multi-years, they're in the multiverse, right? And that's what happens with all of us.
Yeah,
If
but-
we're on social media and we do that, you know, I
but-
think it's a really important lesson for students.
But the good thing about it that in our life there's you can reconciliation. You can always say, look, even if he's gone in this, you can always say, you know what, I acted nut. I really embarrassed myself and my family, and you know what, I'm gonna get myself right. Here's my path, and you know what, at the end of the day, the folks at Bethune-Cookman and the folks that appeared. So we hadn't even talked about the faculty who are quiet. The faculty are quiet. You don't hear nobody saying that.
No.
Faculty ain't saying anything. But I think there's an opportunity for him to get himself together,
Right.
and because I think there's probably a school that's in line with him that don't really care. You can do what you want to do. I'm going to do. But I'm just saying, but no one, if you badmouth your boss, that's very few lanes you can run in that the institute say, you know what, he's not going to do that to me.
Right. So we only have a minute or two, a few minutes left, but flash forward, what would be the best case scenario for Bethune-Cookman getting through this? How does this, look at Martha Stewart, right? She went to jail. She's bigger
Yes.
than ever, right? So it's always been my example. And people really, they do, they take their trials and tribulations, and then if they're creative people, they just keep on going. What would Bethune-Cookman and Martha Stewart? It's kind of a weird comparison, but
Well,
give me 2 minutes.
I think the easy one is hope. Bethune-Cookman has to remember the history that they have with Mary Bethune-Cookman. There's hope, and you came from a right place.
Yeah.
In doing that, you got to get your ducks in the row. First of all, you got to make sure if people not doing the accountability, if you're not cleaning that man office, you need to do what you need to do. Get the accountability straight. Build those relationships. You got to have resources. But I'm saying a lot of these things can be fixed. You got to get your house in order. I think that's the first thing. Come together as an institution. Let's hire a good coach. Let's pull together, and I think you got to prioritize that. I think if they go with the vision that you came from rich history, and the school is bigger than any person. Ed Reed, the Interim, the trustees, the school is bigger than that, and I think that's. The school has staying power. I think those are my ingredients. Keep the hope alive.
Yeah.
Move forward and do a great job.
Well, with all due respect to our former president, Bethune-Cookman's in the headlines. I know who Bethune-Cookman is now, right? A lot of people
Yes.
are aware, and they're
Yes.
going to be watching, and that's
Yes.
something that they can really
Yes.
capitalize on. So anyway, we're going to stop for today. Dr. Green, thank you so much. So fun. And I hope that, somebody somewhere gets some value out of our conversation about leadership. And, I wish your wisdom was right on the front line for this controversy. But I look forward to having another conversation with you in the future. Thank you so much. Yes, it was really great. Dr. Daryl Green of Oklahoma, a Baptist Christian University in Oklahoma City, has joined us today. We're talking about Ed Reed and Bethune-Cookman, and this is Mercy Russell with a Remarkable Relationship Show. Look forward to next week.
The views expressed on